What if I told you your social class doesn't just shape your paycheck? It shapes your voice, your habits, your beliefs, and even how you're perceived online. This is the invisible algorithm of inequality. A system so embedded it shows up in your feed, your posts, and even your follow count. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's start at the beginning. Long before your first post or profile pic, class is already working behind the scenes. From birth, you're trained, subtly, to perform a certain kind of identity. Sociologists call it anticipatory socialization. If you're from a middle or upper class family, you probably grow up with structured activities, comfort in institutions, and encouragement to self-promote. These lessons teach confidence with authority, ease in interviews, and how to move through systems built for you. If you're from a working class background, you learn independence, obedience, and resilience. You're taught how to get by, how to make do, how to stay out of trouble. These aren't flaws, they're survival strategies. But the systems we operate in, especially online, don't reward those strategies equally. And that brings us to cultural capital. Cultural capital is the unspoken currency of society. It's the tastes, styles, and behaviours that earn approval, access, and visibility. On the internet, cultural capital becomes a kind of algorithmic privilege. Imagine this. One teen uploads a sleek Instagram story with perfect lighting, subtle branding, and a clever caption. Another shares a photo that's more authentic but less polished. Guess which one gets more engagement? Same message, same effort, different reception. Because platforms are trained to reward the language, look, and style of the culturally fluent. And cultural fluency often comes from offline exposure. Parents who work in media, schools with resources, peers who know how the system works. It doesn't stop there. Education deepens the divide. The creator economy might seem open to everyone, but it's only truly accessible to those with the infrastructure to participate. This turns opportunity into exclusion. And without realizing it, we're watching class inequality play out on a global digital stage. So let's take this further. Class doesn't just shape your access to tools, it shapes your worldview, your values, and even your online identity. Upper-class users are often fluent in the language of social justice, wellness, branding, and aesthetics. They've been socialized to speak confidently, express abstract ideas, and signal status in ways that are admired by algorithm-driven platforms. Working-class users, on the other hand, certainly focus more on practicality, survival, or skepticism of elite narratives. Their tone may be more direct, less polished, more grounded. And while that perspective is no less valid, it's often judged more harshly, both by audiences and algorithms. This shows up everywhere. Who gets labelled a thought leader, and who gets labelled toxic? Who's seen as relatable versus cringe? Who's celebrated for authenticity, and who's punished for being unfiltered? It's rarely just about the content, it's about presentation. And presentation is deeply shaped by class. Even the way we define credibility is class-coded. A creator with a slick video setup, a soft voice, and well-timed cuts is often seen as more legitimate, regardless of the ideas being shared. Meanwhile, someone with a shaky camera and a raw delivery might be dismissed as emotional, unprofessional, or angry, even if they're saying the same thing. That's not just bias, it's a form of digital gatekeeping. This dynamic extends into cancel culture, trend cycles, and even viral success. Many creators who get cancelled are navigating a class-coded space without a class advantage. They weren't taught the unspoken rules, and when they break them, the system responds quickly and harshly. Meanwhile, those with more cultural capital are better at damage control. They have media literacy, they know how to apologize in PR-safe language, they might even have a manager crafting their statements behind the scenes. It's not that class controls everything, it's that class provides a buffer, a layer of protection that shapes how mistakes are received and whether you get a second chance. And when you look at who succeeds long-term on these platforms, the patterns become even clearer. Behind the most successful creators is often an unseen ladder. Elite colleges, professional internships, insider knowledge, brand connections, These are the ingredients that don't get listed in someone's bio, but that play a massive role in their growth. We often say someone blew up overnight, but very few people blow up from nowhere. Most had a head start. They had access to the language, the tools, and the networks that make virality possible. Let's break down what's really happening behind the screen. We like to think of the internet as a meritocracy, that if you work hard, have talent, or are authentic enough, you'll succeed. But the truth is, success online often has less to do with talent and more to do with access. Access to knowledge, networks, and the ability to present yourself in ways that platforms reward. Elite colleges don't just offer education, they offer branding. A degree from a top-tier school acts like a trust signal. It tells viewers you're credible before you even say a word. These schools also provide access to internships in media, tech, and PR, industries that overlap with influencer culture. That means the most visible creators often aren't just creative, they're connected. They know how to pitch themselves to brands. They understand pacing, lighting, aesthetics. They know how to turn personality into product. And while anyone can learn these things, not everyone starts from the same place. The top 1% of American families send more students to Ivy League schools than the bottom 60% combined. Now think about how many relatable creators came from families with media experience, industry connections, or financial safety nets. These aren't coincidences, they're launch pads. When you scroll through YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, you're not just seeing content, you're seeing inequality in motion. Every viral dance, podcast clip, or self-help reel is part of a system that filters who gets seen and who gets ignored. This is especially true in the creator economy, where income depends on engagement, brand deals, and scaling content. But to reach that point, you have to pass through a maze of expectations, most of which were built with a certain kind of person in mind. Someone with a ring light, quiet room, editing software, and fast internet is playing a different game than someone filming on their lunch break with an old phone. The content might be equally smart or funny, but one gets clicks and one gets buried. So when platforms say their algorithm is neutral, it's misleading. Algorithms are trained on patterns, and if those patterns are class-coded, then neutrality is impossible. Success isn't random, it's patterned. To truly understand social media, we have to zoom out and see the system behind the screen. Because every time we measure who's going viral, who's getting followers, or who's winning the internet, we're not just measuring talent, we're measuring class. If you've ever felt like the system's stacked, like your content isn't landing, or like no one's listening, you might not be wrong. You might just be playing a game that was never designed for you. So the next time you see someone blow up online, don't just ask what they did right. Ask, what did they already have? Because on the internet, the algorithm isn't the only thing sorting us. The real algorithm is inequality.